Joined by Danny West, recruiting expert, columnist, reporter at 24/7 Sports, HawgSports.com, of course, and starting to get in a little more routine having Danny on with us, which is a very good thing. Danny, how you doing today?
Doing good, brother. How are you guys today?
Oh, doing well.
Outstanding. Good. Happy to be alive. Hope it starts raining sometime soon, and looking forward to getting this football season going. I got a chance to watch some practice with the media yesterday, and over in the what side of the field would that have been? That would be the west side of the indoor stadium or the indoor practice facility. The tight ends were right there in front of us, and I'm watching Dowell Loggains do work with them, and obviously the guy knows exactly what he's doing when it comes to coaching anything involving offense. But man, Danny, Dowell Loggains has put in some work recruiting recently, huh?
Pretty impressive, right? For a first-year assistant to jump in and do what he's been able to accomplish so far, really impressive. Over the weekend, of course, people who don't follow recruiting that much, that's okay. We've got you covered. But Dowell Loggains, I think his initial start date, official start date with Arkansas was June 14th, okay? Mm-hmm. On July 7th, just a few weeks later, he landed Tyrus Washington for the current class. Big-time tight end, had a bunch of offers, kid out of Georgia, and a long-time priority target for Arkansas. He got that wrapped up. I think Tyrus was really impressed with Coach's background in the NFL, and it kind of helped him seal the deal there. That really didn't surprise us. I felt at the time that they were really close with Tyrus already, and didn't shock me. But let me tell you, buddy, over the weekend, he picks up 2 4-stars back-to-back days in Shamar Easter and Jaden Ham, a couple of tight ends for the 23 class. So these kids are going to be juniors this fall, okay? And he's already gotten 2 on board, probably got his class full for the 23 cycle. Really impressive. I'll start with Shamar. He's the number 1 player in the state for next year. Kid out of Ashdown, Arkansas, a high school that's been really good to the Razorbacks when you think about Buster Brown and Day Bishop, a couple of, I would call them starters at this point. We know Buster is anyway, and Bishop's got a great chance to be. So Shamar Easter, he had offers from just about anybody you could imagine, man. I'll run through some of them real quick, but Auburn, Florida State, Michigan State, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Texas A&M. He's 6'5", 225. I think he's probably a little lighter than that, but got an impressive frame. Should have no trouble putting on the pounds in college. And then the next day was really a kind of a out of left field commitment with Jaden Ham. He's out of Eudora, Kansas. You know where that is, Phil?
I know it's in Kansas. That's about as far as I can go.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's somewhere between like Overland Park and maybe Lawrence. Okay. So somewhere on I-10 there, I believe. So anyway, the kid came down in June. He's 6'6", 225. He's got some big-time offers as well, and I can mention those: Missouri, Nebraska, TCU, Tennessee, K-State, Michigan, Penn State, Oklahoma State. The list goes on and on. Well, he came down in June and really fell in love with it. I remember talking to him after his initial visit, and I was thinking, man, he sounded, that sounded pretty real. He's going to be one for me to keep an eye on. And lo and behold, over the weekend, he comes out of left field and commits to make it back-to-back commitments for Coach Loggains there. It's really impressive. Most of the time we see assistant coaches come in, they might need a couple, 3 years to really establish themselves as big-time recruiters, and Coach has come in and done it right away in the span of, 2 months now. So really impressive, and you're absolutely right. He's got a good thing going, and they needed it, Phil, because, as you said there, no offense to their current tight ends, but they need more athleticism, more depth, and they realize that, in my opinion.
But Danny, like, part of the amazing thing of this, and I think you're alluding to it as well, like, for an assistant coach to come in with a team and do what has happened here in these last couple of months is one thing. This is Dowell Loggains' first college coaching job. Like, he's an NFL guy. That's not about recruiting. Of course, college football coaching is probably more than half about recruiting, and he just seems like he's a natural for it.
Yeah, I think so much of that. If you've ever had a chance to meet Dowell Loggains, I think you kind of understand it immediately. It's just his personality. I mean, the guy can talk to anybody. You feel like he's kind of got that Pittman quality about him, where the first time you meet him, you feel like you've known him for a while. You know what I mean? He can relate to a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life, and I think that's probably something that made him successful in the NFL as well, where there's, a lot of roster turnover, coaching turnover. So, and the kids like that experience. Going back to Tyrus Washington, he was pretty blown away by the resume, and I would imagine that it's the same case for a lot of these tight ends. When you look at, how successful this guy's been, being an offensive coordinator at the highest level on multiple teams in the NFL over the last 15, 16, 17 years, quite an impressive resume. I felt like when they hired him, he was going to have a chance to be a pretty solid recruiter based on that resume. But, man, I had no idea he was going to do this. He's got Arkansas 2 4-star commitments to start the 23 class. They're currently number 7 in the country, and it's all because of Coach Loggains. I mean, who would have predicted that?
Yeah, it is great, and it's great on paper, and, you want to get excited about it, but also at the same time, you got to remember, I think a lot of people need to remember that they are still juniors, and when you have kids that commit so early, how much weight do you personally put into them sticking to that commitment? Because we have people decommit all the time. How much weight do you put into these 2 guys in the 2023 class to stay committed and ultimately sign when they're able to?
It's a great question, Drew. It really is. And really, the answer is it's case by case. From my standpoint anyway, dealing with the kids, typically after you get to know them a little bit, you can kind of tell what they're about. And I'll be honest with you. There's times when I see an early commitment and I say, yeah, well, good luck holding on to that one for the next 18 months. He's gonna be wishy-washy and he still wants to take visits. But for these 2 in particular, I think Shamar Easter is going to sign with Arkansas. I think it would take something really crazy for him not to. And then with Jaden, like I said, I think he's all in, but he's going to have so many other teams coming after him. Kid from Kansas, not really a place that Arkansas has hit on a consistent basis. So the good news is he's not, from the Colorado border over there, right? I mean, he's relatively close to campus, going to be able to take quite a few trips down here unofficially and, of course, officially when that time rolls around. But, you bring up a good point. It's something that I get asked all the time is how can you tell? I'm not sure what the answer is, but normally you can tell the guys who are super solid and the ones who they're just taking a spot so they can move on but still take other trips and hope for that Alabama or that Texas offer, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one kind of along the same lines of future recruiting, one thing I've always wondered how you and everybody else at 24/7 and a lot of recruiting people do their crystal balls. And you see some people, they're like, I'm 67% sure he's going there, I'm 75, and it's kind of like some weird numbers. What's your process in doing your crystal ball predictions?
Well, it's a compilation of things. You got to try to get to know the kid the best you can and see what kind of person you're dealing with more than anything. I mean, I've had kids straight up lie to me, and so have other recruiting writers, and that's just part of it. You're going to deal with that. You can be tricked at times, but I think the more people in the coaching ranks and being able to build sources throughout the years, I think that's really beneficial for a recruiting writer. And at the end of it, buddy, you're dealing with the 16, 17-year-old kids, so it's kind of a coin flip anyway at the end of it. But for the most part, I feel pretty confident when I do make a prediction. A lot of it, honestly, comes down to a feeling. A perfect example is Jaden Ham, a kid I felt when I hung up the phone with, that kid really, really likes Arkansas. I can think of one last year, Chase Lowry. They offered him and hung up the phone. And I said, I think he's going to end up with the Razorbacks. And sure enough, several months later, that feeling came true. So there is some of that. But, there's no perfect science to it. That's a fact.
Did I see you got a crystal ball in for safety out of Temple, Texas, 2023, Nathan Mitchell?
Yeah, Yeah, 2023 safety. A few weeks ago I told our subscribers, and by the way, I want a quick plug here. We've got a 75% promo that I'm supposed to mention on here, so you get VIP access to all of that. Great promo right now. But, yeah, a few weeks ago I was telling some of our subscribers, I feel like Nathan Mitchell might be the first one to commit in the 23 class, another guy that you just get a really good feeling about. And I think he's going to be probably a high 3-star, so a quality pickup if you can get him. He's already been up here twice, and, I think he's close, buddy, to be honest with you. But he's gotten beaten to the punch here by a couple of tight ends, so we'll see. But I still feel pretty good about their chances with Nathan Mitchell. We call him a safety out of Temple, Texas. He's actually, I think he's being recruited as more of a corner, maybe even a nickel. So keep your eye on Mr. Mitchell out of Temple, Texas.
Danny also had a list on HawgSports.com. And by the 75% off VIP, that's a really good deal. On your unofficial visitors or camp attendee list, which I think you put out earlier this morning, was a running back out of Georgia in the 2025 class. Now, I know football doesn't necessarily recruit, to that early very often. And you're a football guy, but did you see Arkansas baseball got a 2025 commit from a kid who's going to 9th grade in Batesville, Mark Brissy? Like, college baseball recruiting blows my mind. And for you, someone who focuses on football, it's just it's mind-blowing when you think about rising 9th graders. They're starting high school. The only thing I wanted to do going into 9th grade, Danny, was not get the snot kicked out of me in high school. This kid's as sure as where you're going to college now.
That's a fact, buddy. It can be a little bit overwhelming, to be honest with you. I think I've mentioned it here on this show before, but I've had parents hit me up from 7th grade and, hey, take a look at my kid. And I'm thinking, man, Trey Biddy's going to fire my butt if I tell him I'm going out to see a 7th grade kid. He would tell me that's a little bit weird. Why don't you give him a few years? And I tend to agree with that. But, yeah, this kid, the one you mentioned there, Bo Walker, class of 2025 running back, 5'9", 180. He's got a great name. It sounds like an SEC running back, Bo Walker. That's kind of a Bo Jackson, Herschel Walker combination, if you want to call it that. But one to keep an eye on, but I don't plan on calling him tonight for an interview, if that tells you anything.
No crystal ball, right, for him, right?
Not yet. Nope. Crystal ball only goes so far, buddy.
Danny, appreciate you, man. It's always good talking with you. We'll do it again soon, okay?
Well, I appreciate you guys for having me. Have a good one.
Thanks, Danny.
You got it. Danny West, 24/7 Sports, HawgSports here. And, if you can take advantage, 75% off a subscription for 1 year. Now be the time to do it, no doubt. 877-377-6963 for your calls and texts. Matt says the Swamp and Death Valley have the best atmospheres. I heard you guys on the morning rush today asking, where do you think is the hardest drinking crowd in the SEC? Like, the question isn't who's the hardest drinking. It's the number 2, because it's all about LSU, number 1 in every aspect, in any sport. That's just the way it is. Halftime back after the break. We'll have Bill Bender coming up in hour number 2. We'll get his thoughts on the SEC, on this potential scheduling alliance with the Big Ten, Pac-12, and ACC. Heck, Bill's from Big Ten country, so we'll get into that with him later. Wrapping up the first hour next.
The start of the season is just around the corner, and if you're into sports betting, BetOnline is where you should go to win some money today. Whether it's live bets during games or future bets on who you think will win the championship, BetOnline has all the latest odds, news, and information for all your online sports betting needs. Visit the website today or use your mobile device to join and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. So before the next big game or before the season starts, head on over to BetOnline and start playing today. That's BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts.